Our first project is copying a website design in Photoshop. This is the image and we'll recreate the design as best we can. The point is to put everything together and use it in the real world. Watch me as I work, then do the same project by yourself. Open up the 960 grid file. First we'll hit Ctrl:/; to see our guides, and then we'll lock them with Ctrl:/Alt:/. Now drag the image from your folder to our canvas. Hit I to select the color picker so we can take the background color. Click and check on the left side to see if the black changes to a light gray. Now delete the image. Hit G, click, and we have our background color. Now we have to save our project with another name so our grid PSD remains the same. Go to File, Save As, and save it with another name. This should be done every time you start a new project. We're going to make the white body area that holds our content. Hit U, select the rectangle tool, and create this shape. Go to the Layers panel, and on the left side of the layer name, double-click to change the color to white. Having the guides opened and the body layer selected, hit Ctrl-T and make sure it's as wide as the outer guides. You can adjust the height as you go along. The body has a gray line around it. Add it by hitting the FX button at the bottom of the Layers panel and selecting Stroke. The size should be 1 pixel and the color should be gray. I will approximate it, but you can use the eyedropper tool on the original image to have the exact color code. We need to set the font for our logo, menu, and everything else. I know this font is named Oswald. If you don't have it, go to google.com/webfonts and download it. If you don't know what font it is, just type in a word from the design into that web page, like Experience, and go through the fonts to find a similar one. Now we need to set the color. Drag the image back onto the canvas and use the eyedropper to find it. For the logo, write Experience and set it to all caps from the character panel. Use the eyedropper on the inspiration image to identify that orange. Press T, select the X, and make it that color. Use a smaller font for the tagline, and you can approximate that gray nuance. Select both text layers and press Ctrl-G to group them and rename the folders to Logo. Make sure both are aligned to the left by selecting them and using Align Left Edges from the top panel. Let's deal with the menu. Press T for the Type tool. Click and write the text. Home, Pages, Portfolio, Blog, and Contact. This is all one line. Hit the numeric Enter from the right side of your keyboard to finish. If you didn't write it in all caps, go to the Paragraph panel and hit this button. In case the text is orange, use the eyedropper again to get that gray color. Also adjust the size if needed. Now we need to add space between the items. Make sure you have the Type tool selected and click on the text. Go to the end of Home and press space multiple times, depending on what you think looks good. Copy that empty space and paste it into every single item, so you have the exact same space between them. Select the Home item, then the color from the character panel, and make it a dark orange. This is the down state, meaning you're on that page. Then select any other item and make it the same orange as the X in the logo. That's the hover state. Since we're hovering on an item, let's make the drop-down. First, the down arrow. Create a new layer from the bottom of the Layers panel. Get the Pencil tool by hitting B. Make sure you're not on the Brush tool. If you are, go to the left panel, hold, and then select the Pencil. Click in this pattern to make an arrow. After you're done, rename the layer, hit the V key, and move the arrow next to your menu item. Put it exactly to the right of it, and then hit Shift right arrow from your keyboard to space it out. Then select the rectangular marquee tool, zoom in real close, and select the height of the word. Make sure you're on the arrow layer in the Layers panel. Press V, then hit Align Vertical Centers. Control D to deselect. This is the technique I use for aligning items. Let's do it again to center the menu with the logo. First, group the down arrow with the text and name that Menu. Then select the logo folder and the menu folder and hit Align Vertical Centers. To place the logo on the left side, just open up the guides with Control semicolon and move the folder so it touches the guide. Then hit the Shift arrow key a couple of times and we're good. Do the same on the other side with the menu. You may want more or less space on the sides. What's important is that it's the same size. In CS6, you can easily check with the marquee tool. Select it, drag the box like this, then do the same for the other side. If things don't line up, just nudge them into place. In CS5, you have to use the ruler tool, which is underneath the eyedropper tool. Select it, drag a line, check the width up top, and it's the same thing. When you're done, hit the Clear button up top. For the top of the page, leave 30 to 50 pixels white space before the logo and the menu come in. Let's make the 1 pixel horizontal gray line. Press U, select the line tool, weight 1 pixel, no style, no stroke. Go to the edge, click and hold Shift while you drag to the other edge. Now release, zoom in real close, and make sure it aligns properly. Double-click on the left side of the layer to change its color. A nice gray is D9, 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 but you can use any gray you like. For the orange lines, use the line tool again. Just set the weight to 3 pixels. The elements should be as wide as the word and make sure they're orange. Zoom in to line them up. The hover line should be wider since we have a drop-down menu. Let's create its background. U-tool and drag a white rectangle. Rename the layer to BG Text. BG stands for background. You can add a temporary stroke in case you don't see your element. Press T to write in some items. Enter to go to a new line. Play with the line height from here so they space out well. We need that dotted separator line. Create a new layer, select the pencil, and make sure you have spacing of about 300%. Hold Shift and drag. You can make the dotted lines wider since you can select the eraser tool and delete the part that is too long. Or select the marquee tool and make a selection and delete it. I usually change the color from the Layers FX panel with the color overlay. This way, I'm not constantly changing my colors on the left side. Keep in mind that if you do use layer style, you should always close them from the right side so you have more space. Now, we need to copy our dotted line multiple times. Here's a great trick. Hold Alt-Shift and drag down, again and again. Now use the marquee tool for the first 2 items. Select the dotted line and center it. Then go to the last 2 items and do that as well. Select all the dotted lines and hit Distribute Vertical Centers, and you're done. This is a time saver. Group the dotted lines and rename that folder to Separators. Group that with the text and background. Rename that dropdown. Right-click on the eye in the Layers panel and set the color to red. This way, you won't forget it or delete it by accident since we'll hide it. The orange line should go into the Menu folder. Make sure when you're adding layers to the canvas that you're not creating them inside a folder. For example, if we want to add the phone number, we shouldn't be in the menu folder, but outside. So let's do that now. Let's write the phone number, but a random number at this point is fine. Then we need to find nice icons for the phone and the social media for the left side. A great website for icons is iconfinder.com. Type in phone, and you'll get a lot of options. Check the license. Some are free to use, while some require a payment, though you can download them without paying. So change this drop-down to Allowed for commercial use, and in this way you can use any icon that shows up without a problem. Download a phone icon, put it in place, press FX, color overlay, make it orange, and we're done with it. For the social media, just type into Google black social media icons, and you'll find a link to Icon Finder. Download them, drag, and drop. Select them all and align them. If they're too big, bunch them up together like this and then just use Ctrl-T. Now for the nice effect. Just select all of them but one and lower the opacity. This is going to be the hover state. That concludes our header area. The hero area is important because it makes the first impression. Draw a rectangle as wide as the 1 pixel gray line. Make the height decent so most photos will fit. Get a nice high-quality photo, preferably one related with the business model. This is a template, so we can use anything. Drag it into the canvas, above the rectangle layer you just made. Press Ctrl-Alt-G, and you've created a clipping mask. Don't worry about the name. What's important is the effect. The picture now doesn't overflow. It sits inside the rectangle you made. Use Ctrl-T to free transform, to resize the picture if needed, and you can also move it around. For the controllers, the arrows and boxes, make a round rectangle. Draw a shape about this size. Lower its opacity. Then get an arrow either from Icon Finder or from your custom shapes. If you draw an arrow and it doesn't go onto a separate layer, hit Ctrl-Shift-H, or just select another layer that isn't a shape. Now we have one element. Group it and use Ctrl-J to duplicate it, or use Alt-Shift and drag it to the other side. Then hit Ctrl-T and flip horizontally. Rename, and we're done. For the top right squares, use the U key, drag a white square, add a 1 pixel white stroke from the FX panel, and set the fill to 0%. Copy them with Alt-Shift-Drag. And for the active one, just make the stroke orange, plus add a smaller square in the middle. Group and rename as always. Messages in slideshows are important, so let's drag a rectangle. Make sure you have it at 100% opacity and fill, and clear layer styles if it has any. Then press the mask button from here and select Gradient. The colors will be black and white. Set the settings like I have them here up top, hold Shift and drag. Do it multiple times until you see it fading away. Depending on your background image, you may want more or less opacity. Let's add the text by pressing T and writing. Make sure you don't click inside a shape since that's not good. We've added the headline and now we need a short description. Use dummy text from lipsum.com, which is the standard in web design. Copy-paste it and it's good to go. Finally, let's add a big caption in the center of the screen. Here, you can usually put a call to action. That means you guide the user to do something. A button with a sign up is generally the case. We'll put some words in orange to show they are links. Add gray horizontal lines and space them out using Shift. Now, we've completed our hero area. The Recent Projects area. We want 4 items decently spaced. To get that right, first make a rectangle, align it to the left side, copy it multiple times with Alt-Shift, and align the last one on the right side. Then select them all and use Distribute Horizontal Centers. If the space is not right, hit Ctrl-T to resize all of them, align the last one again, and distribute to see the new result. Repeat until you're happy. Move those 4 squares up, create a rectangle that's as wide as the top one, and make it gray. Then create another one, make it black and center it inside the gray one. You should have 2 to 3 pixel space on each side. Then add an image over the black square. Hit Ctrl-Alt-G, Ctrl-T to resize if needed, and it's done. Group and name it Project. Use the Alt-Shift technique and copy it 3 more times. Select each image with Ctrl-Click and drag another one into place. A design always looks better with different images. This first one is the hover state, so we'll need to create a zoom icon. Use the ellipse tool, hold Shift, and drag. Lower the opacity and get a magnifier from Icon Finder. Now we need to make these three black and white. Get the marquee tool, drag and select these three items. Then go down for an adjustment layer. We want black and white. Hit that and it's great. Group and rename. The separator you see here is a resource I always use. You can find it in the Resources folder. Add that and resize if necessary.